Welcome back. What's up, Canada and beyond? It is Tuesday, July 23rd. Y'all want to know what's going on in clown world today? I mean, besides the obvious, of course, the regular Mockingbird media is all a tither with absolute pure polarization on the the recent developments in the United States. Covering it, there's no point in me covering it. All we're doing is adding to the noise. So we're going to keep looking at other little perspectives and dots connecting, more context, and talk about some things that our own leadership is absolutely avoiding while they're keeping us distracted and developing, this continuous trajectory of cultural warfare that they seem to be waging upon us. And we're going to dive into a couple of factors that lead up to that. But I want to remind folks, first and foremost, smash that like button, guys. Double check that your subscription is there and that you've hit that little bell for notifications. We are miraculously enough being allowed to stream to Facebook for 2 nights in a row. Whatever bizarre twist of fate that means. But welcome, guys, who don't get to do this very often. I really want to encourage everybody, though, regardless of what platform you're watching this from, to go over to whatsupcanada.substack.com and make sure that you get subscribed over there, where you get all of the details, all of the extras, all of the links, all of the documents. There was a couple of documents that we covered last night that you guys will want to get your hands on. You can download the PDFs on that Substack as well. And of course, it is free. If you do choose a paid subscription, that is much appreciated, much needed. I can't think of better value for dollars to help support anybody that's resisting against the establishment than the independent media that is fighting through it all. So shout out from where you guys are tuning in from. Audio's a little sketchy. Good, better now. Hey, Dryden, Don Record Man, glad you're here. Make sure that you give this a share. We're going to talk about some stuff that it's alarming to know, but it's to be expected. And ultimately, when you look at the performance in both of our nations, this is where the danger lies, not in per se Russia itself, but what are we doing over here and what's provoking Russia? And do we really have a grasp on the situation? So there's going to be some questions that I will leave everybody to decide for their own towards the end of it. But I don't know when this article was printed or even where in the world news, but it was just a question from an account that I follow. They're always dropping little things, but they asked a question that I thought was really, really poignant. When did you learn that Justin Trudeau had been captured by China? So that was an interesting thought-provoking question, and I had to chime in my little 2 bits there. Was when I realized that his dad, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, was a card-carrying member of the CCP. He was a communist, and he was actually banned from the United States for being a communist. So that for me was when how far back it goes that I know that Justin Trudeau has been captured by China. He spent a lot of time there traveling with his father when his father paved the way for China's involvement in international and world trade at the IMF. So we're going to touch on a couple of stories that I didn't get to yesterday. I kept everybody a little bit late yesterday, so a couple of stories didn't make it in there. But I'd like for you guys to know, to drop in the comments wherever you're watching from. When did you know that? What event was it? What thing was it? What news story? What scandal or scam was it that tipped you off that Trudeau was captured by China? All right, I'm gonna get a couple more hellos in here just cuz. Hey, Kathy Flett, watching from Sterling, Ontario. Awesome. Canterbury, awesome. Absolutely a hit show in the USA the past week. Using that terminology, Canada's got plenty of its own shit shows going on, shall we say, at Wasaga Beach. Some of you guys are probably catching that story. That there's enough others catching that. Hey, Mighty Mouse, awesome to see you in the house. Some storms yesterday. Good. We had plenty of our share a couple of days ago. Awesome that you made it through, Stefan. These guys are not making it easy to do this. They are making it more and more challenging every day. What's Keep your eye on the Middle East. We're gonna. I don't know if I have that pulled up, but yes, absolutely be paying attention to the Middle East. We've talked a little bit about that. We're going to touch on a couple of things a little later today. Hello, Marie. Marie. What else we got here? Rocky Mountain House. Awesome to see. Thanks, Violet. Haven't spoken with Rocky Mountain House for a while. All poll workers. Yeah, I wish could say that I was surprised. Billy. Hey, Gemini Moon. Hey, Patricia. Iris from Invermere. Awesome, awesome. Thunder Bay. Hey, Ali's dad. Good stuff, guys. So, thank you, first of all, because for 5 years that I've been doing this only works if we're doing this together. This is, and we'll be talking a little bit more about what it's like to take back our communities, our nations through engaging in civics. And that's really what we are here, is a civic community. All right. So this story didn't make it yesterday onto the sheets, but it's just another example and something else that's implicating Trudeau yet again. He is never going to be able to hide again. Now this is no, you guys didn't hear that? Uh-oh. I will pull that off and try loading it again. Make sure audio's on. All right. Should be good. All right. Sorry if there was no audio on that one. We'll make sure that it's working on the next one. It's probably down a little bit. I forget to turn the volume up on these things before I play them, but I'll make sure that I'll do that right now for everybody. I got a couple of videos lined up for you guys and a bunch of Twitter posts that we're gonna cover. But this so basically, Wab Kinew, the new premier of Manitoba, is making allegations that Trudeau's lack of spending to NATO is going to impact trade negotiations and be dangerous to Canada um, if he doesn't jump to meet the WEF targets, or pardon me, the NATO spending targets. Now, Trudeau was asked about this and gave the most ridiculous answer ever. I didn't bother pulling that video up. It was just too much video for an absolutely irrational response where he said, I spend money on things and I'll spend the money on when I need to, basically, in essence. Kind of like the budget will balance itself kind of garbage. Uh, so Interesting that this is another premier taking him to task while we have the other premiers from the eastern and western coasts that are taking him to task. They want more better paying communism. This leadership election campaign going into here in Canada is absolutely as big a shit show here in Canada as what is happening in the States. But the next little clip that I've got pulled up for you guys. Oh, this. All right. From Mark Moss, who's a financial advisor and consultant, and this video speaks to the World Economic Forum has prepared us for the future with their latest report. Um, I'm not going to play the whole thing for everybody here today. I'm just going to play basically the first couple of minutes, and give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear it when it comes through here. Remember, there's a 30-second delay before I see your comments, but this is relevant to our situation where we're at here right now in Canada, and the USA, of course. NATO being a big player on the world stage. And if you remember last night when we were going through the refresher course on Yuri Bezmenov, a really good show last night, guys. If you missed that one, you can make sure you want to go back and check that one. It was kind of a condensed version, and applying the parallels with Sebastian Sass on what Yuri warned us of, and whether you believe him or not, he's been more prophetically accurate than even Nostradamus. So let's listen to Mark's quick first minute or two of his analysis of the World Economic Forum's new report.
Shocking predictions. The WEF's latest report unveils our future. Now, not all predictions about the future are a guess, at least not when you're the group controlling the world. And when you're in the top puppeteer of the world, like the World Economic Forum or the WEF, they're the most infamous of the lot. And that's because the ideas and the policies that come from their NGO appear to have more influence over our daily lives than our own governments. This is especially true when it comes to the economy. It's called the World Economic Forum after all. And if you want to know what's coming next in the economy, then just keep your eyes on them, as they're going to tell you. And they recently released a new report titled Chief Economist Outlook of May 2024. And they broke all of this down. So in this video, I'm going to break down the key pieces of this report that you need to be aware of. We're going to take a look at what specific predictions does the WEF report make about our future? How do these predictions impact our lives and the world around us, and what we need to do to protect ourselves and when as these changes take place? If you want to know where the world is heading over the next few years and decades, then you do not want to miss this video. So let's just jump right in. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and jump right in here. My name is Mark Moss. I make these videos to keep you up to date on what is going on in the world of economics, macro investing, and so forth. And we're going to talk about this report right now because it sort of tells us the future. And more specifically, what specific predictions does the World Economic Forum report make about our future? Now, their report predicts cautious optimism about the global economy, with almost 7 out of 10 respondents in their poll expecting for global growth to return to 4% within the next 5 years. But that may be hard to believe. And as a matter of fact, not everyone agrees. As a matter of fact,
it's point number 2 that when we get there, that I want everybody to make sure that they get. And I couldn't agree with you more, Julie. If we don't get rid of the WEF, the WHO, the United Nations, and all IMF, all of these guys, humanity is going to end. There is no maybes about that. This is the war that we're in right now, and information war battlefield is the tip of the spear on all of it. So the point that is addressed in the WEF report is what I want people to realize where we're at.
A sizable minority, about 25%, are actually not on board with that. They're much more pessimistic. And these, about a quarter of these respondents believe that global growth is never going to return to 4%. Well, never is a long time, but I think getting back to 4% anytime soon is probably a dream. So I agree with that. However, It's what they hint at. It's what they hint at as being the solution. Is that what really bothers me? And this is the stuff that I want to pay attention to and bring to your attention. Now, in the paper, in a section titled A Challenging Global Landscape, they talk about the importance of governance taking control over geopolitical and domestic political factors as sources of economic volatility. Now, you can see this in the report's near, unanimous prediction, 97%, as a matter of fact. 97% say that geopolitics will be a major source of volatility, and they suggest that there's going to be this environment where governments should actually use this instability to impose restrictive measures and take more control. So they want the volatility to happen, the geopolitical volatility, wars, rumors of wars, things like that.
Isn't that exactly what Yuri was talking about last night that we were covering? Step by step, the whole process. Yuri laid it out. We talked about it last night, and this is where we're at here right now. And they're saying that, of course, geopolitics, and this is the part that I want people to kind of realize is, as much as we're fighting, with all of our heart and souls within our countries, for our countries, the global events are going to have perhaps bigger impacts than the itemized or the micro events that we're fighting. Like, I'm not saying that anybody isn't fighting a righteous fight, but that may get lost in what is happening or what is happening or crushing us from outside of our country from the geopolitical level. By that, I'm talking about BRICS, in the unpredictability of the European Union, what's going on there. Those are the things that are really going to drive the instability.
So that they can use that instability to impose restrictive measures and take more control, of course, under the guise of maintaining economic stability. So, like Biden just floated the other day, like a 5% rent increase or capping the price of ice cream. So using this volatility as an excuse to grab more control, of course. Now, the paper also predicts that the Middle East conflict that we're seeing and the escalation could actually spike oil prices. Now, if that happens, of course, that leads to a lot more inflation. It leads to a lot higher interest rates, which, of course, why I've been pounding the table on inflation. I believe that some of the inflation that we've seen lately has been some of the lowest inflation we'll probably see for the rest of the decade. And the WEF, the Economic Forum, seems to agree. They also talked about Eastern Europe. And they said that Eastern Europe would further be destabilized due to conflicts and financial pressures. So, of course, we're seeing that. That's Ukraine, the situation with Russia.
This is that manufactured destabilization that I've been harping about for 4 years.
And Ukraine. But they think that it'll be further destabilized due to these conflicts. And they said that the real risk of disrupting the global microchip supply chain is coming from China and Taiwan. Of course, like we already know that. But they think that this could escalate to a point that it could actually put a serious disruption into the global microchip supply chain. And if they do, what happens? Well, prices go up again. Again, more inflation. Now, the big one that I was looking for, and of course, it's on the more political front, is at the World Economic Forum, the WEF, they warn that the rise of nationalist parties globally could disrupt the global-focused economy and then cause short-term economic pain. How dare those nationalist parties? Let's think this through here. So nationalist parties, meaning, parties that want,
meaning people that care about their country before they give their whole countries away to whomever, wherever, whatever. Those kinds of nationalist nations, the ones that say, wait a minute, we want to look after our country first here for a minute. The WEF don't like that so much, that idea. That's a big problem for them.
Want to think about the good of their people first, and then the good of their country over the good of the world. So what the WEF is saying is those people thinking about, themselves and their own country, they could disrupt the globalist focused economy. Yeah, that's the whole point.
Exactly. And that's where I'm going to leave that off. Let everybody go and catch up the rest of that. And I'll give you a reason to make sure that you subscribe on the Substack tomorrow. And so you're absolutely 100% on point, Billy. We have to not comply with anything, we have to stop using the systems, supporting the systems, taking part in the systems that all siphon our that extract every bit of our sanity, our wealth, our lives, and use it against us. Because this is what they've done: is they weaponized everything to use against us ourselves. A NATO is a criminal war club, 100%, and this is absolutely the threat to democracy. Has anybody ever voted for Klaus Schwab in your country or mine? And they scream about protecting democracy, but take orders from meat muppets and fascists like Klaus Schwab? Huh. Seems to me we should have a problem with that. So I've got the next clip I got up here is somebody that you guys are starting to get to know pretty well on this channel, Sebastian Sass. And this is, as the insanity starts to ramp up again. And the reason I'm starting with this, um, this beginning of the story for setting the tones tonight is the insanity and the manufactured destabilization of it all, in getting people to understand how and why this insanity is upon us. But this is another character that's coming back to the front of the fray, and I'm only going to play just a minute of this, mostly because I want to add this link for everybody in the Substack tomorrow.
Boris Johnson unveils Ukraine peace plan that Trump might use. Now, when I read that, I was like, okay, maybe there's something sensible in there. No, what he's written there is completely divorced of any sort of reality. There we go. Quote, I believe that Trump can end it on the right terms for Ukraine and the West. Who cares about Russia? Who cares if Russia is satisfied or not? I stress that I cannot be sure exactly what he would do if elected, but this is what he could do. And now we get a sneak peek into the mind of Boris Johnson.
You remember, Boris Johnson was the guy that parachuted in to derail the first peace talks that both sides had agreed to. Ukraine and Russia had agreed to peace talks, and Boris Johnson parachuted in there on Bo Brandon, Hong Kong Joe's command, and torpedoed the peace talks, and we got another year and a half of war out of that so far. But this is the guy that's going to tell you all how to make peace happen, and this is how Trump ought to do it, or what he could do.
Johnson believes that the first step is to strengthen the hand of the West and to strengthen Ukraine. Ukraine will never be in a stronger position than it's been possibly in September of 2022. That was its peak.
100%. It's been a downhill slide since then. I'm going to show you guys a map here in a little bit about how much of a downhill slide it's been since that time in 2022 when they could have had peace. It's not been going well for them, and this is important into understanding the final bow of the story when we get to that. So that's kind of what I wanted people to, well, I'll play another little bit, a minute or two of this, and we'll hear. It's important to hear how insane Boris must actually truly be. These guys are so beyond delusional. It's astounding.
From then, it's all downhill, but he wants to strengthen it even more. So peace can be achieved by continuing war. This is what
even the conservatives, Bill C-388, they want to open up mining in Canada so they can manufacture shells and send them directly to Ukraine. These are our diplomats.
Johnson is saying. He believes that the US presidential candidate, Donald Trump, could simply do what comes naturally to him, cut through the red tape and delays, grant the Ukrainians the necessary authorizations, and then when Putin is pushed back again, he could propose a deal. Well, first, Putin is not pushed anywhere, not back, not forward. Putin is not Russia. Putin is the leader of Russia. But it's not Putin who's fighting on the front lines, it's the Russian armed forces. The idea that one man controls everything in Russia is just projection, because that's how it actually is in the West. We have so many people in governments, yet there's only one decision maker. And even that decision maker is not the one at the top of that government. It's an invisible force, people. Then the second thing that I'll say is, when they say the necessary authorizations, that means authorizations for Ukraine to use long-range weapons to hit inside of Russia. So escalate it because you want peace. That's this guy logic. Johnson
That's exactly what their Boris is trying to hint at, this new selected leader, Pierre Starmer. I don't believe he won fair and square either, but his first act was to say, yes, we'll send long-range missiles, at which point the Saudi Arabians and a few other nations said, no, you don't get to do that, or we'll remove all of our investments in England and the UK. So he backtracked on that, but this is the exact same thing that Boris is hinting at, but this gets even better.
Emphasized that Kremlin ruler Vladimir Putin will have to pull back to at least, hear it out, at least the pre-invasion borders of 2022. So I'm going to read the rest, bear with me. So according to Johnson, Putin would have to even seize territory from Russia. Because I can't read this with a straight face. I'm sorry if this distracts from the article, but this man is certifiably crazy.
I agree.
To prevent future conflict and uncertainty, the rest of Ukraine would have to be recognized as a free country with the right to determine its own future, including potential membership in the EU and NATO, and should be welcome to join as soon as possible. So basically, they're talking as if Russia doesn't exist. They're talking as if it's all up to them and Russia has nothing to do or nothing to say in that matter. It's like the only reason Ukraine hasn't been successful so far is because, well, our leaders in the West were confused. But now that Donald Trump is coming, we can do all of this. Guys, you need Russia to agree to any of that. And of course, they will not agree to a single thing, because everything he claims in this bullshit of an op-ed, it's completely ridiculous. These are the reasons for why there is a special military operation in Ukraine right now. The NATO conversation, the border, let's go on. He also suggested that Russian leader Vladimir Putin could claim that the special military operation, essentially a full-scale war, was successful and that he had achieved the denazification of Ukraine. Additionally, special protection measures might be implemented for Russian speakers. What? So he's saying that by Russia moving beyond the borders of 2022, so potentially even seizing up further territory, Putin can call it a victory. Like, what? And to top it all up, the cherry on top,
believe this?
Where is it?
Insanity?
Special protection measures might be implemented for the Russian speakers. So it's not certain. Maybe Ukraine can discriminate some more. It's not certain, but maybe, just maybe, we can give you that little bone over there. Who is this guy talking to? Like, who does he think he's talking to? Does he contemplate at the idea that anybody in Russia would take this seriously? How could this man be the prime minister? This man is the embodiment of stupidity. Quote, above all, with Trump in the White House, there is still real prospect of some global rapprochement with Russia, and with Putin, a return to the days when Russia was a respected partner of the G8 and even of NATO. Russia was never respected by G8, by NATO, by anybody in the West. Let's do some serious talk here. They were never respected. They were needed, and they were managed accordingly. Don't give them too much, keep them down, keep them out. There was never a serious rapprochement. But you see, in the eyes and the minds of these Westerners, rapprochement means you will be our slave. That's it. It doesn't go beyond that. You're never going to be on an equal footing with them. Putin tried for years, even since the Clinton days. They didn't want to have anything to do with them. There we go. But there is only one way to achieve this
There's so much more to that. In going back to Bush Senior, even they had a plan, a strategy in place for the collapse of the USSR. At that point, they were going to separate Russia into 8 different countries where they would be able to control the trade and growth and stabilization of rebuilding those nations after the collapse. Uh, the globalists' plans rarely go to effect, thank goodness.
outcome through strength. Oh, you'll need a lot of strength to compensate for that stupidity, my friend. Washington under Trump will have to show that international borders must be respected and that Soviet empire cannot be rebuilt by force. Well, if international borders are so, I don't know, sacred to you people, how come you've invaded more countries than you find in Europe? Just in the last few decades. How come there's coup d'etats performed by the MI6 and CIA all over the world? But the borders, the borders, you cannot mess. How about these borders of Europe, which you've opened for everybody to come, undocumented, illegally? Do these borders matter, or these are just the border?
Nobody's borders matter to the except for the ones that they want to claim are the ones to fight over. Our own borders. No, that you would be a nationalist. How dare you be a nationalist and worry about your own nation's borders when you must fight for the democracy of Ukraine for this guy whose mandate had run out? Can you imagine Sleepy Joe serving out his 4 years and just deciding, yeah, no, I don't want to give it up yet. We're going to jail Trump and all of the other party members, and I'll just keep running the USA and make war and trade deals and beg for money and keep killing people and keep picking fights with Russia, regardless of what the people say. And, we can, buy the media and say we're fighting for democracy, because this is in essence exactly what Zelensky is and where he's at. Absolutely pure benevolence, of course, right? These benevolent dictators at the Club of Rome is wants to use to fairly depopulate the planet. That's the point of the benevolent dictators, right? But
of Ukraine, that's where we draw the line. We draw the line on which side Kharkiv sits. That's the bottom line, people. That's where we make our last stand. Boris Johnson. And then he also makes a remark about the Soviet Empire. Putin said it repeatedly and explicitly. I am not looking to bring the Soviet days back. Russia is plenty. But again, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is how can they brainwash you? I guess if you repeat the same stuff over and over and over and over again, the weak minds will absorb it. I think that's the only logic to this madness. That means
loser.
backing the Ukrainians to the hilt. If Trump had been in the White House, I don't think Putin would have been so reckless and criminal as to invade Ukraine. I personally disagree. I don't think this had anything to do with Trump or Biden. I know a lot of people say, oh, if Trump was there, I don't think it would have made a bloody difference, because this had nothing to do with the US regime per se, and everything to do with what the Ukrainians were about to do, and that is to go and join NATO. It could have been God in the White House, and I think this would have still be the same exact result. Never forget, it was Trump, not Obama or Biden, who gave the Ukrainians the Javelin anti-tank weapons that were so crucial in the battle for Kiev in 2022. Trump already had a record of making decisive military intervention on behalf of Ukrainian democracy. Ukrainian democracy. I'm not going to comment any further on that. I'm just going to comment on the Battle of Kiev. So they still think the Battle of Kiev was supposed to conquer the city with 40.
Well, I'm gonna stop with this one for now and put that in the Substack and just kind of finish this one up on a couple of points. They're still demanding an unconditional surrender of Russia's military forces, and it's been absolutely a disaster for for the Ukraine as far as from a military perspective. I did have, let's see if I find it real quick, another video lined up with the. Here we go. Just for people to kind of get a bit of a perspective on how poorly the battle is going for Ukraine in this conflict zone. This is the territories that they've lost in the last, basically, since this conflict began. The red being Russian gained territory. Most of this there's been huge chunks of this that they've captured here just in the last couple of months. It's become a beyond describable meat grinder. This channel, I'll put the link in there. I'm not going to play any videos from it, but this channel is called Military Summary Channel, and he's an Eastern European bloc guy, and he geolocates all of the videos, the combat footage, and you can get access to the most gruesome and horrific things beyond comprehension or even imagination. And this is, people not wanting in Europe to send their sons and daughters to this conflict for nothing. This is what is changing the face of Europe, and this drive to more nationalism. People in Europe remember how long it took to rebuild after World War II. They don't want to do that again. So they're absolutely why they're going after Mr. Orban and his policy, or pardon me, his new Patriot Alliance of Europe that's growing. Today, there's other nations are now starting to stand up for Hungary. The EU almost immediately put oil and energy sanctions on to Hungary after Orban tried to, he basically flew around the planet a couple of times, meeting with world leaders and arranging, an environment for a peace discussion. This is, I'm not going to play this one, but we've talked about this over the course of some of the other shows over the last week about what's going on with Turkey, and Turkey is really coiling back at not wanting to take part in the NATO reindeer games. Mr. Erdogan was just in Singapore last week, meeting with the Singapore Alliance, which is an economic and trade alliance, which added new nation members. The report I got yesterday was 40 more nations are signing up for BRICS. And I think we're seeing the global shift of nations that are making decisions and putting their money where their decisions are, and not moving forward in alliances that are threatening to their nationhoods. So Turkey is one of them, controlling the entrance to the Black Sea, where if I pull this one up here instead, you don't see it here. This is the Black Sea, but Constantinople down to the south of that is, if I zoom out on this a little bit. Another time. But yeah, so Turkey is kind of backing off, cooling its jets, not wanting to get involved in the NATO reindeer games. And these are nations that are starting to see the turn. The diamond pendulum is swinging. These are nations that have leaders that are paying attention. Of course, we don't have that here in Canada. So I'm going to play this little 3-minute clip and give you guys something to think about. And this is kind of, well, See for yourselves.
On the airwaves, make a donation, please, because we don't get money from the PMO, nor do we want it. Andrew Enns is the vice president of Leger. Leger is one of the most respected polling companies in Canada. Thank you for being here. And let me put this to you. It looks now like, barring a calamity, that Trump will be the president of the United States. Anything can happen, but it looks like he's going to be the president. And some are saying Trudeau is going to love this because he's going to say, Trump, anti-abortion, Poilievre, anti-abortion. Look what's going to happen in Canada, which is going to try to revive his fortunes. How can you help us with that? How can you read that?
Well, first of all, I think we saw a little bit of that already with the Prime Minister going after any inkling of a misstep by Pierre Poilievre that opens up the door. I think there was a notwithstanding thing a couple months ago. So
you don't even need an inkling because he'll just make it up. He'll say,
For sure.
Poilievre, anti-abortion when he's not.
Well, yeah, it's got to be a bit negative, and it will. Trump definitely is going to enter the campaign, in our country.
Right.
I mean, I think there'll be people looking back at the relationship that Trudeau had with him initially. Wasn't great.
Right.
So how does that play? I think for sure there'll be this notion of we need a strong, centrist, progressive, maybe bulwark against Trump in Canada. That'll be Trudeau's card. But I think,
how can he play that card to the Canadian electorate when at the same time he's going to have to work with Trump to try to make sure that we don't get shafted?
And I had this debate with Dan Arnold, the Liberal pollster, on this a little bit, saying it's a fine line you walk if you start attacking the guy, if you start attacking your opponent because he's too much like a guy down south of the border, and somehow there's guilt by association. Because that guy, to your point that you made right at the intro, that guy's looking more and more like he's going to be the winner. So I think for Trudeau, you have to be much more cautious about how you go after Poilievre, saying, hey, you're a Trump acolyte. Well, Trump, what do you mean by that? Like,
he'll throw it out there. You know that. He'll just sort of throw whatever he can and see what sticks against the wall.
Yeah, it's... Look, I mean, you can throw everything you want at it. I mean, I think, first of all, as Canadians, we have to pay attention to what's going on south of the border. And I think, I dare say, I know we've run some polling. No surprise. Most Canadians wouldn't vote for Donald Trump in terms of the politics here. But that aside, I mean, I think...
that was kind of a question that I wanted to pose to everybody. Now, a couple of points with this video. The link will be in the Substack tomorrow. What's it going to be like for Canada with this meat muppet here, Lord Farquaad, insulting Pierre and Trudeau and Mr. Trump? For the last 4 years, Trudeau has been very, very, very unstatesmanly towards Mr. Trump. How well is that going to go for Canada when it comes time to put up or shut up at the table? Do you think Mr. Trump is going to have a good view? I know he likes Canadians in general, or he says he does. I can't imagine why he wouldn't. We are the most lovable sheep on the planet. But here's the question, and I kind of ask this in jest, because I saw a post on X, and it says it's easier in Canada to come out of a closet as being gay than it is to be a Trump supporter. And that really makes me wonder, is our society, is that where we're at, where it's easier to say you're gay than to say that you support Trump? Which is more acceptable in your community? Which one will get which statement would get their most respect? Which would be tolerated? Anybody that comes out of the closet and says they're one of the 72 genders, it's just so brave, so brave. But say you're a Trump supporter and see what happens. So this delusion that we've got going on up here in Canada is by no means helpful to where we're going to come out in the wash of all of this. So back to Twitter. Yeah, you're so brave, right? Oof. I'm going to be tackling some of this tomorrow, actually. We talked a little bit yesterday about the Victory in York Region School Board. We're going to be getting together with uh, Nadine Nass from Unified Grassroots in Saskatchewan to talk about what they're doing to take back school boards there. But I wanted to just highlight this post on X from gov.x. The easiest ways to conquer a prosperous nation is to bury it in debt, grow the welfare state, import the third world, and then gaslight the people into believing diversity is our strength. This is not incompetence, it's malfeasance. I would have to suggest that this is actually foreign designed treason. 100%. The World Economic Forum exists only to implement fascism, the merger of government and state. That's their only sole purpose. The United Nations creates a policy, the IMF backs it, and the young global leaders infiltrate and present the ideology, and then it gets kicked down to the municipality for the implementation. And where does that leave us? Right about here. Yeah. Our dollar, even, this is Musk in the US, but our dollar is worth significantly less than that. And as far as for buying power, yeah, we're headed to third world shithole status. So I'm going to skip one story to get to another one, and we'll come back to the Kamala one before we talk about why we really do genuinely need to be concerned about Russia, not because of their ill intent, but because of their capabilities. And this is something that we're in denial of here in Canada. But we're going to start with 2 minutes from Brian Lilly Unleashed. This is something that I have to agree with him on.
Do you remember when the Trudeau government said they would put a cap on foreign international students? Yeah, so do I. Hi, I'm Brian Lilly, political columnist for the Toronto Sun. And despite the Trudeau government saying that they were going to cap international students, part of the problem of our country bringing in people faster than we can absorb them, to use the words of our prime minister, they haven't done that. In fact, according to a report by Brian Pasfium in National Post, we've already surpassed the same peak that we had last year. Last year was a record. And between January 1st and the end of May, we brought in 200,000 people already this year in that same time period.
So twice as fast they're jacking this up. They're importing these people.
It's 216,000 people. Now think about this. We are in the middle of a housing crisis. We don't have enough housing for people that are here already, whether they're citizens, permanent residents, temporary foreign workers, temporary foreign students. It doesn't matter. It's a housing crisis. It is driving up the price to ridiculous and unaffordable levels. We have a medical health crisis where there's not enough family doctors or nurses. And despite the fact that the government keeps hiring more, the population keeps going up, which means we need more, but we can't get them. Where are we going to find them? Are we going to poach them from other provinces? Are we going to poach them from other countries? The World Health Organization says there is a shortage worldwide of health professionals. And yet we're just letting in more people to a system that's already on the brink. The Trudeau government said they were going to fix this. Instead, they are making things worse. Why? Because they don't want to do the hard work of actually managing the system that they are in charge of. You can say, oh, but provinces asked for this or cities asked for that. You know what? When your kid asks for candy at 9 o'clock at night, you don't give it to them. You say no and you put them to bed. We can't have a system operating like this. The Liberals have broken the immigration system, and so far, they're refusing to fix it.
100% correct. Again, by design, this is more of the manufactured destabilization of our country. They've been engaging in this for a very long time. This is just one aspect of it here that he's referring to, and this is the foreign students, right? The foreign students is what he's on about. But what does that lead to here in Canada? Uh, what do we get? What is it turning us into? Never mind the beach problem that is kind of now becoming world famous. What do we get? Uh, this today episode of Canada's justice system and the joke that it is. Peel Region Police arrested 18 people in connection to violent home invasions, carjacking, weapons, and drugs, but some of them have been arrested before. These are the ones that you're supposed to leave your car keys in your mailbox for. This is just the best way to combat crime and drugs. Well, to combat the drugs, we'll just make everywhere a free for all with drugs, and a leaked memo saying now even crack and cocaine are going to be on the to do list, because this is what Canadians want. And then in the meantime, this is what they're telling Canadian or the world about what and who Canadians are. This is the National Post. Breaking news. Canadian behind knife attack in Israel was a 21-year-old from Alberta. Like F. Absolute bullshit. This one triggered me, pissed me right off to absolutely no end. I had to respond to this. Up yours, your fake news, your Mockingbird mercenaries. He was not from Alberta. He was a Trudeau New World Order transplant from some other shithole, and they screeched to the world like it's an Alberta bad guy that went to Israel and got his ass shot off for trying to stab some Israeli soldiers. This is programming. This is projecting. This is setting up the narrative. So, Albertans bad. Albertans dangerous. What's the problem with Alberta? Mocha's on to the problem with Alberta, and it's not going to Israel to attack soldiers. It's more infestation by unelected foreign terrorist organizations that are taking control of our streets and our cities as more of the same anointed third world shithole transplants that they have given us since they opened up every border on the planet, because that's what the WEF wants. And shame on you if you think about protecting your nation, or your nation should come first. They'll just brand you as a bad guy and as a terrorist around the world for that kind of behavior. But this story from Mocha, guys, this just keeps growing and growing and growing. This is the Khalistani movement, and they have made multiple threats on his life. Everybody needs to understand the infiltration. It's not just the World Economic Forum. Basically, Canada has become a safe haven for all of the scum of the earth based on the Trudeau dime, and we are expected to tolerate it, or you are racist. They can shit up our beaches, they can shoot up our streets, they can do whatever the hell that they want, and our nation just continues to turn into exactly what Gov.x is talking about, exactly what Yuri talked to us about yesterday on the Grassroots show last night. So this is I'm finding it really, really infuriating that this is how they're projecting. That is an Albertan. He might have been a resident. He might have been, but he was certainly not an Albertan. He was not. That's not even Canadian. And if that's Canadian, we've got a real problem, and it's time to take some civics lessons to deal and learn from some of that. So we're getting down to the last couple of minutes here. So I wanted to touch on some of the other insanity, guys. I think it's official. The next steal is in. We don't know which plan the deep state swamp creatures are on. FG, it's all in a shambles everywhere around the world, but all of the Democrats are holding their noses and they are saying that Ms. Giggles and Shits, pardon me, Camel Toe Harris is actually in 2 days passing Donald Trump by 4 points in the polls. And every post that comes across my X feed is all about how wonderful Kamala, every feminist in the country now needs to vote for Kamala. This is the projection. They're moving for the steal. They're exposing the steal in France. We know they stole the last time, and they're doing it again in America. But I want people to remember this feminist that they're endorsing, and remember what some of her credentials are when she's from the stage spewing about how she was such a great attorney. Yeah, well, 2 undercover journalists exposed to Planned Parenthood was selling aborted baby body parts, a felony, and a California attorney general prosecuted the journalists and never did anything against Planned Parenthood. That attorney general was Kamala Harris. And I think that's an important thing to put in the memory banks, considering that she is by projection or installation. I think the Democrats are planning on sticking her into the pipeline to be the next globalist shill. And the thought of that woman being the sycophant clone trooper to the New World Order WEF Fourth Reich, her having the nuclear codes should terrify every human on the planet. I said that yesterday. I'll say it again. And this is why. If they keep provoking Russia, Russia doesn't have any animosity to us, but they will not. They will not suffer destruction because of the insanity of our Western leaders. And this is a tech video that I think it's important for people to understand what they have the capabilities of.
The Kremlin refers to this missile system as the diamond in the crown of the Russian Empire. Washington refers to it as Putin's Joker. About 20 trillion rubles have been spent on the creation of Avangard in the last 10 years alone, but its total cost can't be calculated. It's important to note, however, that the appearance of the Avant-Garde has a very clear price for the United States because these missiles essentially wiped out the American missile defense system. The diamond in the crown of the Russian Empire and Putin's Joker are both quite appropriate.
So in the last couple of months, this has been the dominating factor on the Ukrainian battlefield, taking out their missile defense systems and at will. The Ukrainians have no ability to defend themselves, and it's through this exact tech. So I'm using publicly available sources. This is on YouTube, and we're not probably going to come across it unless I pull it up here and share it with people. But this is a going concern, guys.
Appropriate epithets. In military terms, we're discussing a hypersonic glide missile that flies to the target at hypersonic speed. It has a nuclear warhead of between 0.8 and 2 megatons. HGV Vanguard appears suddenly on the radar when there are 15 to 20 seconds left to the target. Nearby observers see a fireball in the sky. In fact, Vanguard is flying in a cloud of plasma. Its body surface temperature reaches 1600 to 2000 degrees Celsius. In the dense layers of the atmosphere, Putin said that the 2-ton HGV Avangard can develop hypersonic speeds of up to Mach 27 due to its wedged shape in the dense layers. This is approximately 5.7 miles per second. It is faster than the first cosmic speed. Therefore, even without a nuclear charge, the HGV Avangard can destroy any object on the way simply by kinetic energy. I agree, owning such a weapon frees up your hands. During the testing process for the HGV Vanguard, President Trump said that Russia was challenging the existing U.S. defense system. It should be added that no single missile defense system in the world can deal with such a quick target. Neither America, China, nor Russia itself can.
Do you hear that? Even Russia couldn't stop their own missiles that they've now created. That should raise some hairs on the back of your neck and some alarm bells about where these meat muppets are taking us.
The American Missile Defense System, the world's most advanced system, cannot handle the HGV Vanguard at 5.7 miles per second. Let's start with speed. Russia possesses 3 hypersonic missiles: the air-launched Kinzhal hypersonic missile, the Zircon hypersonic missile, and the HGV Avangard hypersonic missile. There has already been a strike by Dagger and Zircon on the Ukrainian power grid, with a confirmed Mach 8 to 10 speed, 1.7 to 2.1 miles per hour, that is. According to Kiev authorities, Patriot, NASAMS, and Iris-T missile interceptors provided by the Allies successfully intercepted these missiles. The UN reports, however, that Ukraine's generating capacity was reduced to half its pre-war level after the missile attacks. This may indicate that Russian missiles have been successful. As for the HGV Vanguard speed, it is higher than that of the Dagger and Zircon. This fact causes constant debate among experts. No one believes that such fast missiles exist. However, it should be noted that China and the United States are also developing HGVs of various types. This weapon is not science fiction. It's just that Russia was the first to test it and deploy it on the battlefield. That's why it's dangerous for the Americans. Located deep in Russian territory, the 13th Missile Division's new regiments are armed with HGV Avangards. How the HGV Vanguard deployment works is that missile silos are scattered several miles apart so that they can't be destroyed at the same time. It is believed that the shaft's walls are sealed with 120-ton armored hatches, capable of withstanding direct hits from aircraft bombs or missiles. At a depth of 236 feet, each shaft is home to an intercontinental launch vehicle, the HGV Vanguard, the missile's warhead. The console with the notorious red button is enclosed in a cramped capsule suspended in a shaft on hydraulic shock absorbers. Neither an earthquake nor a nuclear strike can shake the capsule slightly, so the operator's hand will remain steady. The Russian military trains 6,000 officers every day for a nuclear attack on the United States. The only action they practice is pressing the start button. When the button is pressed, the squibs fire, and the missile silo hatch opens. Using a power accumulator, the launch vehicle jumps out of the silo. As soon as the first stage engine kicks off, the HGV Vanguard is sucked into the sky aboard the intercontinental missile. The U.S. Missile Defense System should immediately take action here. The first detection is the responsibility of American satellites of the SBIRS system. They have a maximum of 180 seconds to detect an intercontinental missile launch in the infrared range. If the intercontinental missile deceived the American satellites, then the only hope lies with the ground-based detection systems. Ground-based Mid-Course Defense, GBMD, is the main ground-based component of the U.S. Missile Defense System. Ground-based interceptors, GBI, are the main anti-missile element. The American GBI destroys targets anywhere on the Earth and near Earth orbit. However, anti-missiles' effectiveness is directly linked to the speed at which targets are detected. Consequently, the ground-based mid-course defense complex includes 3 powerful stationary pave-pause radars designed to detect and track intercontinental ballistic missiles at the earliest stages. The Clear Space Force Base in Alaska is especially important because it must detect missiles flying from Russia through the North Pole, the shortest route. The remaining 2 stations protect the U.S. from east and west threats. Despite this, pave-pause radars cannot cover the entire globe. Their range isn't higher than 1,250 miles. Therefore, ground-based mid-course defense is complemented by the Towed Surface Radar SBX, which has a detection range of 3,000 miles. SBX radar on an offshore platform can track intercontinental missiles early in their trajectory. and guide GBI anti-missiles. However, SBX can also be bypassed. Now, do you understand why avant-garde HVGs are stationed in the Orenburg region? The location is far from the Russian external borders, which makes detecting the launch difficult for American missile defense radars. However, the Russians pulled off another trick that made radars even more difficult to detect. The avant-garde can either be carried by the obsolete Soviet SS-19 Stiletto missile carrying 1 HGV, or by the Russian RS-28 Sarmat, known as Satan II. By the way, the Sarmat missile can carry 5 2-ton avant-gardes. Due to the high amount of fuel required to overcome air resistance, intercontinental missiles are typically launched vertically to accelerate their exit from dense layers of the atmosphere. Energy-consuming trajectories are used to bypass enemy missile defense systems in real combat conditions. Much effort is put into making the launch vehicle invisible for at least a few seconds. These seconds are crucial because 125 seconds after launch, the HGV Vanguard separates. This is much earlier than the launch of intercontinental ballistic missiles with nuclear warheads. In other words, U.S. missile defense systems can quickly detect launch vehicles and fire anti-missile missiles before they launch. Due to HGV Vanguard's early separation, the Samaritan carrier can fly beyond the atmosphere, not along the shortest path, but through the South Pole. Why is this important? According to the Pentagon, American missile defense systems are designed to intercept conventional intercontinental ballistic missiles with nuclear warheads launched from Eurasia through the North Pole. If the launch vehicle rushes in the opposite direction, and if the satellites don't notice its launch, then the HGV Vanguard can safely separate from the carrier and land in the area of U.S. missile defense just before impact. Here's how it happens in reality. First, the Sarmat rocket rushes in the direction opposite the territory of the United States. At Mach 15, the avant-garde reaches a speed of 3.17 miles per second. After 125 seconds, the avant-garde separates. As soon as the HGV is autonomous, it becomes fully self-contained. Despite not having an engine, the HGV Vanguard has gliding ability, which extends its autonomous flight range to 3,700 miles. As soon as the HGV Vanguard separates from the carrier, gravity continues to accelerate it. In the range of pave, pause, or SBX, it performs active maneuvers, ups, downs, right, left, and ups and downs again. It is true, however, that the U.S. missile defense system was not designed to handle highly maneuverable targets. Anti-missile systems were designed to destroy ballistic missiles with predictable trajectories, and not to hunt for objects that, like UFOs, move chaotically through space at a speed of 5.7 miles per second. As a result, you may have to use several anti-missiles to destroy one HGV Vanguard. To prevent this type of attack, you will need to use THAAD, a medium-range missile defense system. Because of the HGV Vanguard's prohibitive speed, it is likely to be a close fight that will consume many missiles and last for several seconds, as the battle will be intense. In the case of Avant-Garde, it is not a fact that the anti-missiles will reach the target before it has completed its mission. As far as the THAAD anti-missile is concerned, it has a maximum speed of Mach 8, and if there are several Russian HGVs, the probability of their destruction would be 0.
Probability of their destruction would be 0. So if Russia's got enough of those, there is no winning. And so I'm going to leave that at that and have a little discussion on that. And this is the, there's some comments here that I want to get to, and you're absolutely right, old saucy. We're all victims, even them, because they have to go back. And the problem is that because we were asleep at the wheel, and these monsters have had control of our resources and our policy making for so long, it's our own leaders that have destroyed their nations, and that's why they're here. When someone's burned down my house and I get a chance to go into their house and go shopping for everything I want on their dime, you don't think people are going to do that? Well, that's kind of the essence of it. And they don't have the same cultural investments as we have here. They'll just go back. All right. And yeah, we're not allowed to question them or their system. It's now hate. Absolutely. And this is how they're maintaining control. Absolutely. Imagine a world where governments spent their money stolen from taxpayers on improving our lives and prospects versus developing weapons of war, death, and destruction. You know, you're 100% right, Mira. We had basically escaped that. The Cold War was over. We didn't need to continue to escalate this. Now our nations are in a place where our militaries have been neutered. Our economies have been destroyed. Our leadership and management teams have been completely infiltrated and or captured. Our economic situation is almost toast, and we're still picking fights, right? Our leaders are still picking fights, both sides here in Canada. I still am triggered by this Garnet not so genius bill C3888 to open up mining just simply to make sure that we can send more artillery shells to Ukraine faster. That's the priority. This is the danger zone that our leaders are taking us into, and I think it's important for people to understand, the levels and capabilities. We cannot survive this if we allow our leadership to continue to provoke these conflicts, whether it's in Ukraine or in the Middle East. We need to get out. We need to retract. We need to force all of our national management from the municipal level on up. If they're supporting these conflicts, they need to be removed. We need to organize in a civic capacity to remove them from their positions before they get us all killed or we get invaded by the victims of all of the people that they have been destroying, right? So, yeah. 100%. Going to turn us into the third world, and yeah, they've been promised the moon, the sun, and economic superiority to anything that they left behind in their worlds before, right? So, this is the danger zone that they're steering us into. And one thing that I did want to say though is that with these hypersonics, at least the ones that Russia has been using, they don't have a radiation factor. So it's not like Hiroshima and Nagasaki, where it was nuclear bombs and there was intense radiation that, killed many more tens of thousands of people through poisoning, or perhaps hundreds of thousands of people through poisoning after the fact. These are kinetic weapons. They just are traveling so fast. They have the same explosive power, the same devastation as the explosion of 10 or 12 or 20 Hiroshimas. And so I don't think it would be. Yeah, mutual destruction is no longer a deterrent for Russia. If Camel Toes fires nukes first, Russia has a capability to stop that, but we don't have the capability to stop anything that Russia's going to send. Even Russia doesn't have the capability of stopping their weapons that they've designed. That should be a little bit frightening, right? So. I don't buy that, Billy. I think there's too many conspiracy theorists out there, and this is what I try to deal with. I've seen the results and the devastation of these bombs in the Ukraine, and it's getting worse and worse and worse for anybody that's because they're just manufacturing them that much quicker, and nobody's got anything to stop them. So they're kind of having their way on the battlefield right now. Because of these, the F-16s are not going to make any difference there. The airfields are getting bombed. Their missile defense systems are getting bombed. The F-16s aren't even going to make it into the fight as long as the fight keeps going. So Zelensky's out there trying to buy time before he ends up like Gaddafi in a culvert somewhere, or like Saddam Hussein under a mat in a mud hut somewhere, because these guys will get toppled. They will get removed when they no longer serve the WEF Fourth Reich. I think Mr. Biden might be experiencing some of that right now. And yeah, lots going on the world stage and clown world, folks. Tomorrow, we're going to take a little bit of a different look at things. We're going to look at with Nadine Ness. We're gonna look get a there we go with Nadine, who's been such an unbelievable advocate and negotiator. That is what I would say is her superpower, is um, being brave enough to head into the fray, fearless, and creating an environment of negotiation. And she is absolutely having a massive impact at the civic level in Saskatchewan. I talked with her a couple of days ago, and we're going to, in the spirit of what the victory in York Region School Board, we're going to talk about some of what they're doing in Saskatchewan tomorrow, and give everybody else, a bunch of more helpful tools on how they can combat against the indoctrination and abuse that Yuri Bezmenov and us were discussing yesterday. So looking forward to that. It's been a while since Nadine was on the show, but she is absolutely a force of nature. So definitely looking forward to that. So that's tomorrow night's show. And Thursday, not sure how it's going to go, but I'm going to be a guest speaking to the Greater Europe community through Jim Ferguson's platform, Freedom International. I'm just going to pull up and give everybody a look at, get over there and get followed on Jim's platform, guys, as well, here on X. He is probably one of the most connected and enthusiastic and inspiring people in the patriot-free world of Europe, directly connected to the movement, and a huge force of nature there with this shift to nationalism. And he's invited me to speak with their community in Europe, so I'm sure that will be a ton of fun. And I'm really going to be talking about you guys and the stuff that we're doing here in Canada. So that's going to be Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So I hope, and I'll make sure that there's a link added into the Substack tomorrow for Jim as well. This guy, he is definitely plugged into everything that is happening around the battles and the fights that are waging on behalf of humanity. We agree on so many different things, so that's going to be a real highlight for me. So that, ladies and gentlemen, 20 minutes over the planned timing again. Here we are. But thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys got some meat and potatoes out of that, something a little bit different than what is dominating all of the rest of the airways. I want to remind you guys once again, please make sure that you get subscribed on Substack. We are getting close to 700 subscribers over there. And I think 14 or 15 voluntary paid subscriptions over there. So much gratitude for that. Carly, I got your letter in the mail a couple of days ago. Much gratitude for that. And yes, it is absolutely a wonderful time to buy Wayne a coffee. This is how you can do it. I'll make sure that there's a link in the Substack for that as well. It's an easy way to enjoy your chat with me, because I always work better with a cup of coffee. So thank you guys that do that. And yes, as always, support the journalists that you trust. The ones that are doing it for the right reasons, for the people, not to. I'm seeing that these people that are getting squeezed out, shall we say, for it to be kind, out of the legacy mercenary media systems, layoffs, and all of that, yada 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 yada. they're attempting to recreate that environment through paid platforms and news and business models, the same as they did on the left before, and that kind of really bothers me. So I really want to make sure that the independents out there that are fighting so hard and making the sacrifices, taking the hits, taking the censorship, paving the way for all of that, get the support that they need. There's there's a cause out there. Every second there's a new cause for you guys to get emotionally invested in. But these guys, and if this platform is that platform for you, help this platform out, help us keep this free for everybody else. But even if this isn't your favorite platform, your favorite journalist, your favorite authentic media, please make sure you do support the ones that are giving you the information that you need and deserve. Yeah, Friday, back to bankers, bandits, bullion, and bucks. I saw some comments there earlier. So many comments, guys, couldn't get through them. It's absolutely the best time to buy gold and silver. Right now, it's going through a bit of a dip. It's a good time to do that. And our friends over at New World Precious Metals, you can find the link to that on the whatsupcanada.org website, is the best place to do that. Bryce, the representative, is our financial whisperer. He's here every Friday to give us an idea of how all of this world insanity and clown world makes an impact on our financial system. So look forward to seeing you guys there again Friday. But this, guys, the group that the video that I used to play out most of the week, I don't talk about it often enough, but I saw some comments in here earlier about knowing where stuff is made. Canada doesn't make much of anything anymore. I get what I can from the locals. Absolutely, I do not give anything to the corporate elite that fund our destruction, but there's a lot of stuff that I can't get from the locals either. And for all of that stuff that I used to get from the box stores and the chain stores and the grocery stores, I no longer get that. I get that from the guys at Patriot Switch. It's American made. It's healthiest stuff you're going to get. It's not toxic. Everything is made in North America with North American real Americans, and it's employing Canadians as well. This is, there's all different ways to do it, to get involved in it. Exactly. Patriot Switch has almost everything I need except for my groceries, my fresh consumables, my vegetables, vegetables, dairy, and meat. Except for that, I get everything. I don't buy anything at the stores anymore. So I will not give my money to BlackRock, Vanguard, or State Street so that they can kill us. Just not doing it. Not doing it anymore. This is how we rebuild our countries, and that's a big step forward. So, actually, it's not. It's not, Jennifer. It's pretty much on par. At purchase time, it's pretty just about the same price. But the thing that blows me away is I never run out. It's the quality is 4 times as long for anything that I get from there. I get my some of my drinks, my snacks, my supplements, my vitamins, my shampoo, my pain reliever, my I got stuff all over the place here. My magnesium, my juice, everything, and it's like I say, it's North American made, and and support farmers markets 100%. And I'm not trying to take away from any of that. Absolutely, it's between the farmers markets, it's between the locals, and having a reliable place that you can know and trust. That for everything else, life has never been so simplified for me, and buys me back a whole bunch of time too, because I'm not having to deal with lineups and silliness and nonsense and masks and all of it. And I have yet to find a product that I did not like out of the 4. I mean, they've got 450 products, so I don't buy any of them by any stretch. yes, most of them are oriented towards house and replacing the exactly that stuff that that they use to disseminate their poisons to us, and that's something when I was going through the ISO 9000 program, which was tokenizing all hazardous goods and wastes in North America and giving them a token number and a value and an ID. I couldn't believe what I learned about how much of those chemicals, those toxic wastes that they microdose out in products because it's cheaper, and they actually get profit off of microdosing their toxic chemicals out there through the products that we buy as consumers in the store. So crazy stuff. But that's to me one of the, we can't just boycott them and go without stuff. We need stuff, but we need better stuff, and we need to, think about the ethics and the morality of that which we support. So I really encourage everybody to reach out, connect with me on this platform, patriotswitch.com/set me free. Links are in the show notes as well. There's always links for everything that we do, guys. And yeah, we will see you tomorrow with Nadine. And yeah, I love y'all. Stay Canadian, stay Americans, stay a patriot, my fellow patriots and hostages.